me to use my phone to Friedrich to just say that we're here. And I'll send one to FX Data. As well. Okay. Good. No visitors yet.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to invite them to join us because they take up room on the screen, and consequently there'll be less room for us. So we'll play dueling pens. Anything you can write, my pen can write better. One of the things I want to do is try the world famous Pierre Gustafson test on your pens, because I'm wondering whether they're going to pass. And part of it is the lightness that I think you press down more than I do almost all the
It
time.
could be.
And I'm wondering whether that might change the test results if I were to do it. But, so what are you using?
This is an Aurora 88. This is the other one that's, the nib isn't quite as flexible.
Okay. Well, we will put you don't post a pen?
Not usually. If it's really short, I will.
Okay. Well, if you could post that so that when we swap them, I'll have all the parts.
Oh, I guess I don't post this one.
Oh, it doesn't. It doesn't like the post. Okay.
It'll sit up there.
I see. I hate when pens don't post, where they just sit.
I've honestly never tried it with this pen.
Now, as you can see, as your viewer said, Pierre Gustafson's scribbles make me lose the will to live because I'm scribbling and you're writing, but both are important. And there's a little happy face with cowlicks and a goatee. Okay. So we'll switch.
Okay.
That does not stick.
Yeah, now I'm curious about the other one.
Well, when you can find the other one, we'll swap caps. See if they both. Maybe we might find out what the problem is. See, this is railroading on me immediately.
Yeah, that one's not as nice as the other one.
It's really funny how you feel it. It's like a loose tooth in your head, and you're eating corn on the cob. I really like this pen though. There's something. It's fatter than a 51, I think. But my brain, imagines it to be a 51 or a Waterman Taperite, because that's what it looks like. So the little brain cells that are responsible for those thoughts are being confused by this pen. Well, remind ourselves to test that. It feels like it just works there.
Yeah, it's just a friction fit pen. They got me curious. Like I said, I never post, so it's not something I...
Oh, Friedrich is here.
Okay, this one posts.
Okay.
It's just
So,
empty.
remind me which I'm doing here. Okay, the one with the blemish, or that little line, that little...
Later, guys.
Yeah, bye. Is the one that doesn't post on this pen. So let me try a switcheroo here. Okay, so this posts here.
Hmm.
So my thought is that the problem is there's probably some slight change. If you look at the pens, I'm just gonna I'll figure out which goes to which in a minute. If you look at the silhouette, what happens when this unscrews?
That's the piston. It
Squirts
doesn't.
ink everywhere.
Well,
So,
this one's empty.
okay. It's just it seems like this shape. This
Mhm.
is more tapered.
Okay.
So this feels like it fits into a little inner socket,
Mhm.
you know, and this one looks to me like it's wider at the end.
Oh yeah, I see
And
that.
I think that keeps it from tightening up, you know. It's like any pen that has that where the cap fits by friction. It slides over something that's loose,
Mhm.
and then it widens up and it gets fat. This one seems like it something's keeping that from happening. So let me see if I can put them back. This one goes in that one. And this one goes in this one.
You have my key?
I do.
Here, Troy cut this out of a tree for you.
Oh, it's a little fish. It's a little
Oh, that's cool.
fish. Perhaps the piston cap is a replacement, says Frederick.
Okay. Well,
So
that one's in better shape than this one. Well, I think this one spent some time in the sun.
yeah, it's really a neat feel to it. Really fun. So
Yeah,
I
the
think
guy
we-
that designed it designed what was it, an adding machine and a sewing machine. And he was a big industrial designer.
Oh, see. So this pen, what did you think of this one?
I liked it. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Waterman 52.
Yeah, well, this is a 52.
Oh,
Waterman
that would
52.
be why then.
That's why it reminds you of it.
Mine is not that color. Mine is a very dingy,
Brown.
yeah, kind of like this.
Yeah, well, that's what this is. It's just in the gloomy light of my house here. But it's just I want to see if can you make a line that's that thin with this.
Oh.
With this pen. Again, that's your. Okay, but you would never write that lightly, probably.
Now, if I was doing it naturally, it would look like this.
Yeah. So your pressure. Let's see if I were doing this naturally, what might. So I'm pressing down probably
Mhm.
more as well. But when I'm drawing again or doing calligraphy, making that really fine line is so important in the artwork that I do or
Mhm.
calligraphy that I do. That I really do. Part of my skill set, I guess, is
Mhm.
to lift up on the pen. There was someone, a pen collector, a calligrapher friend of mine from Boston, and also this other guy who will take his envelopes he's writing on and he'll put them on a bed of folded newspaper, not creased and flat, but sort of loosely folded. So there's this air in between each of the pages. And he'll hold the pen, he'll make the point have contact, but it's actually the pressure of the paper pushing up that's making the pressure needed to make the line.
Okay.
So he'll, and he uses his whole arm, his wrist isn't touching the paper, so it's really just, the paper touching the pen nib. and then when he wants the thick line, he presses down.
Mhm.
So it's really neat. Jason is naturally a heavy-handed, so he needs a nib that fights him more. Well, Frederick knows that about you. You're pen pals.
Yeah.
So you write actual snail mail to each other. And so I bet he would like, Mr. Friedrich, I bet he would like that Holland pen. Well, I don't know if he'd like it. Underneath in my zippered case is that Holland pen. Let me just. I haven't used this in a while, so let me just see if it.
Oh, that's the
Yeah.
one I couldn't write with last night.
Well, it didn't have ink in it.
Oh.
So I just dipped it in water here, so whatever. So try this one. This one, this sort of a nib is, people would never normally count that as flexible, but
Yeah, see, I like how that writes.
you can, make the line get that fat, just vertically going straight down toward you. Okay. you're
Yeah,
getting
see, I'm
close.
uncomfortable pushing
Yeah,
it that
I know
far.
you are. I know you are. But see this pen, again, this is for the angry guy writing. I'm sorry, I'm ruining your face. Angry man that's writing the letter to the editor about the trash pickup is changing to a new day, and I can't stand that because my trash is ready on Tuesday, and that's when I'm going to bring it out. So God damn it, that's what he's going to write, heavy-handed
Okay.
like this, and that's what's so fun about these pens is some of them can do this, even though you'd never think it
Mhm.
would, because you would never press down that much. You'd say, "Oh, this is a rigid nib." Well, it is, but you have to remind it who's boss.
I'm always afraid that you'll do that and then they'll go whoop. And
Well, if they can, but if you pay attention to them. Now this is what that.
Pelican
Pelican.
400.
Okay, and this has a gold nib.
Yeah, it's an old one from the 50s.
Okay. Pelikan. Funk. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 400. That's a Holland jewel nib, isn't it? Yes, it is. You can refrain yourself a bit by using a rolled up washcloth under your wrist to lift the pen up a bit as well. Refrain, retain. Friedrich, would you like to join us to use your actual voice? Beautiful. This is a lovely pen. When I was in grad school, I had a Pelikan 120, which essentially looks like this. It's a solid green. And I don't think it had a gold nib, but
No,
might have.
the hundreds didn't. They
Okay.
had steel.
But I used it to draw that safe downstairs.
Mhm.
I think that's what I used to do the drawing on it. It's beautiful.
Oops.
It took me a while, and it's still taking me a while to appreciate the Pelikan finish.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's sort of two-tone like this. It reminds me of saddle shoes,
Oh.
Or those two-tone cars from the 50s, where the hood and the roof might have been one color, and then the rest was a different color.
Mhm.
So I think, well, why didn't they make it all striped? How difficult would it have been? Would that, So there's something about these pens that where both elements are plastic,
Yeah.
that the jury's out on whether I like them.
Yeah.
Venus also did the same routine.
Okay.
Venus pens. So I'm still, I think, you know, when you see it like this, it works better.
Mhm.
You know, when you see the gold nib and this black and then the pattern and then black again, there's a nice balance there. Sometimes when I see it this way, it just doesn't have that symmetry that I kind of like. Okay, what do we have here?
That is a Kaveco. I can't remember what its number is. It's actually one I discovered was in my backpack since who knows when. It must have fallen out of something. But it actually has a little bit of flex. Some of
Oh.
those models have none, but this
No.
one has some.
Did you see Joost Appelboom's newest favorite 3 pens?
No, I didn't.
It's the CEO of Kaveco.
Oh.
And none of his favorite pens are Kavecos, Kaveki.
Oh,
they're
jeez.
Watermans, and that's if he was a pen collector before he was a pen manufacturer.
Okay, I did know that.
And this is a beautiful nib on it.
Yeah, those Kaveco V-nibs, you know, all of them. I like the stiff ones, and I like the. Somewhere there's probably a number written on it. I just can't make it out in this light.
Okay, well, let me invite you here. Copy to clipboard. Copy. Oops. Oh, God. It's hard to do this. Paste. Do you have your pants on there, Friedrich? We have a dress code today. Don't get me started about Kaveco at the moment and their capitalist bullshit. They want to make money? Is that what they want to do?
It's a different company from what it was, because I think it had gone out of business and then they restarted it. Well, this collector restarted it.
I see.
You know, I have to say out of love of pens, but still it was
Well, I mean, we can't blame someone for wanting to make money.
no, that's one of the big reasons I go to work
Yeah.
every day.
So audio for me. Okay, he's not wearing pants. So it's Casual Tuesdays here on the live stream.
Well, that was kind of a
Let's see,
failed heart.
Here's Frederick. Add to stream. Hello,
Okay.
Friedrich.
I don't have a echo, do I?
I don't hear an echo. I don't hear you very well, so let me turn up the volume here. Can I show them your face, Masky?
Sure.
Say hi.
Yeah, I know what he looks like. Yeah.
Okay.
No, the reason why I was angry with Kaveco is lately they took out patent rights on about 7 different Chinese brands. Some of it have been in business since the 1920s.
Oh, I see.
And they patented them in the US and Europe so that they could control Chinese imports and seize them through customs. That's the way they're deciding to do business now.
I am hearing an echo, and yes, you can use the word capitalist bullshit in that case.
Yeah. When I found that out, I at first I thought someone was severely yanking my chain. And then when I went and actually saw that they had filed it and actually paid to patent Wing Sung and Moon Man and all these other Chinese brands, I was like, you have got to be joking.
Yeah, it seems, I would say it seems small of them to do that.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, and that's...
Was
Go
there
ahead.
any reason why Kaveco felt they had to do that? Were they using Kaveco patents in their copying?
Well, they had copied the Kaweco design but improved it.
I see. Well, I guess I would be upset if, both by the copying and the insult by doing it better. Of course, I'd
Yeah.
be
And then sold it cheaper. Yeah.
and insulted cheaper. So I would think, okay, they're showing me how shitty my pen is. I'm going to fight back. I normally I don't like all of this various hard step ups and
Mhm.
stuff, but this is subtle enough that it doesn't bother me. When they're big, when
Yeah.
there's a big cliff going from something to something else.
No, I
it
think
bothers me.
Kaweco had a great design there. You know, and this whole thing with the Chinese, here's a German pen that definitely borrowed from a certain classic American design.
Yeah.
Put it in the light here.
But they did it shittier.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, the ink window here, to me that this ruins the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
It's it looks like someone, to me it looks like someone took a 51 and sawed it in half and glued this thing and then glued it all back together. But the design of it, I find the 51 so perfect in so many ways that it now if it had little slits like some
Yeah, some of the Chinese ones are doing
you know
that.
that wouldn't bother me as much.
This is a Senator. I'm not real sure when it's from.
Well, they are passing the Pierre Gustafson test.
Yeah, I was impressed with this pen. I enjoyed writing with it.
What's this called? Senator.
Yeah, I'm not. The Senator is terrible about brand or about model names, so I don't know what its model is.
It's the Senator Page Boy.
I call it Senator Hoodie because it's got a hooded
Yeah.
nib.
and Senator Graft and Senator what else do they do?
Senator Scandal, you know.
Senator Scandals.
Yeah.
Senator Filibuster. This is called the Filibuster.
There we go. Oh, that's your 52 again.
Do you have a Kaweco Sport?
I do.
Because I've never tried one of those, and I will be your first.
I will say that this is an older model.
Okay.
I am told ODE collects these things, and that's what he's told me is they're not made like this anymore.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good or bad. I just know that's what he's told me.
You know, looking if someone had sent me this and I would say, you know, guess what this is. I don't know whether I would say a pen. I would think it would be a eyeliner or something.
Yeah.
Some piece of, and because of its weird proportions.
Yeah.
And there are some vintage American fountain pens that have this sort of weird proportion.
And the
too.
vintage one of these wasn't that chunk. It didn't have as chunky of a cap. Everything kind of flowed together more.
Yeah, it was a bit more streamlined. Yeah.
Yeah.
What the when the cap is posted and there's when this break happens, if it happens right here, I'm pissed off because it interferes with how I use the pen. Because often I'll move the pen up and down like this when I'm writing or drawing, and if I hit that bump here, sometimes the cap will fly off or it'll slow the action to me. But I kind of like that it's below the belt there. It's within the palm of the hand. These are really quite lovely. Nice. So the new ones are what? How are they different?
Well, he says that the feed is different, and there's something about the nib. I wasn't.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
originally, Kaweco had Bach nibs, and now they have YOLO. And
I'll
now
bet
the
this-
feeds are different as well.
Oh. They sure have
Because
a
I
lot
guess everybody was complaining that Bach was over polishing the nibs,
of,
and they were having hard start problems on the larger nib sizes. So Kaweco switched suppliers.
It's funny, this clip has the same thing written on both sides. So you don't have to turn, oh, let me read what it says on the clip. And oh, you don't have to turn, I have to turn it over. So it's interesting how they just repeat the same thing. It's cool. Well, this is neat. I mean, this would go in my Jodhpurs pants as I'm marching through the bramble, taking a note.
Yeah, that's kind of how I use it, is for hiking, or since I'm
Roll while you're rolling through Poland, more like, you know.
Rolling for while I'm in the middle of the Blitzkrieg, or no, we'll make it slightly more peaceful than that.
There we go.
While I'm taking notes on who the poachers are to have them arrested and shot.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I think
better.
the last piston model one they made was for the 72 or 76 Olympics. I think that's the V16 model.
Okay.
And it has that nice Intarsia nib like you like, Jason.
oh
And they're still around. You could get them. They're usually around $100. And in a far better, I think, a far better sport than a modern one, by far. And they're not any more delicate than a modern one, I would say.
Okay, Jason, I'm going to hand you this pen, and if you break it, you're kicked out of the house. No, you're not going to break it, but this is a Univer pen made by the Schaefer Pen Company.
okay.
It's an off-brand or a lesser brand, and I have set into it a Victorian dip pen nib, which is really fine.
Must be a gold nib then, if
Gold.
it's not rusting.
And but it has a really fun. I had to do little tiny place cards,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted a pen that I could get fine and thick, really, without taking up, a lot of room.
Right.
So this one, it's like a watch spring. It's just really, really springy. So, don't write with it, but just sort of make lines like that just to feel the spring in it. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
It's so there's it's so flexible, but it fights back. It doesn't, it says, I'll let you do this once, just this once. Don't think of doing it. You're doing it again, it's saying, but it's sort of fighting back. I'm going to now show you this one. This is another dip pen nib, much bigger. Maybe this isn't the one that I thought I was going to show you.
That's an interesting shape for a nib too.
Yeah.
So I once bought a set of those speedball nibs just to kind of play with.
Yeah.
They're not a bad thing for people to at least get a set for themselves if they want to prepare themselves for flex nibs.
Yeah.
If you can take a fine, whether it's a speedball nib or a Zebra G nib, and learn how to write with it without it scratching or sputtering all over the page on a fairly regular basis, then you've prepared yourself somewhat for using a flex nib because you've learned how to have a light enough hand.
Yeah.
If you can't necessarily do it well enough with a non-tipped dip pen, then it's easier to keep going back and practicing with that. It costs pennies to damage those. versus someone might run out and spend $200, $300, $400 on a flex nib, even in a vintage one, and they haven't really trained themselves, and they just ham fist it a couple of times, and then there's no recovering the nib.
Yeah.
Or they'll get it and they're not used to it being prickly,
Yeah.
and the first thing they want to do is
Smooth.
polish the friggin' nib and
Yeah.
smooth it.
Yeah.
And ugh.
This nib I got from Effects Technol. It's a dip
Was it?
pen. Huh?
Oh, that was the nib you got from Mitch.
Yeah. And it works pretty nice. It's sort of the same thickness of that other one you just tried, but it's much looser. It allows itself. It says, "Yeah, do that again." Where the other one's saying, "Don't you dare." But they both end up doing the same thing. So I believe that Wasky here is going to do his hands in use here from this very table for this.
Oh, outstanding.
So it'll be fun to have a different routine a little bit. Oh, people give me something else to.
Okay.
Here's
a Schaefer with a Triumph nib.
Okay.
It's probably a newer one. It's a 1970s model.
Yeah.
Or maybe late 60s.
No, well, Frederick will tell us.
It's a
right,
Schaefer Imperial Deluxe. I know that.
Yeah, that's a deluxe. Yeah, deluxe 2. That's probably maybe 67 to 72, somewhere around there.
Uh-huh.
That's touchdown fill still, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
And that is a.
Oh.
I have no idea its era. It's a Linz pen. It's an untipped nib. It's German.
Really neat.
Yeah, it's got more to it than I thought.
And it's surprisingly heavier. This is another piston fill.
Yep. I have not been able to learn much about them.
Linz, Linz. Isn't that where Der Fuhrer is from?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, Linz, Linz.
Linz, Austria. Yeah.
Oh.
Austria. That's where he wanted to put up a museum of art.
Dedicated to all his wonderful watercolors.
All his wonderful watercolors.
That's right. He wanted to be an artist before he got into
the dictating game.
Yeah, I guess the dictating paid better.
Well, almost anything would pay better than his ability. I mean, he was able to push a brush around the page to a degree, but
Yeah, from what I've seen, he'd do like simple landscapes. They weren't anything special. They weren't bad. They were just not great.
Well, that was the whole problem. He kept applying to like the most prestigious places, and his stuff was mediocre. And he got discouraged, and that was the end of that.
and the start of something else.
Yes, unfortunately, yeah.
Okay, that's a
And he
nice.
found out he was far better at that.
Well, so that's a nice rubbery Skyline nib. I love these pens to draw with, and when you get a nice rubbery nib, all of those nibs, Friedrich, that you showed me in that eBay auction,
Yeah,
they all looked really awful.
I know.
They looked like they were all Johnny One Notes, and they all looked like they were the smaller of the sizes.
Yeah.
None of so my heart sinks when I see that.
I think you sold me one of those.
Well, about 3 times a month, that same dealer has about 4 or 5 of those auctions that appear, and it's like, he just sits there and strips pens
Yeah.
and lays out the nibs, and it irritates the bejesus out of me. It's like, let me decide if the pen's worth stripping the nib out of.
Uh,
But
well, at the last pen show I was at in Philly, there was a guy that had a baggie, like a big baggie, like imagine a softball made of densely packed, made of Skyline nibs, and he's said. I said, how much are your nibs? And he said, well, between X and X dollars. I can't remember, depending on the nib. So I knew that, he would know a nice flexible nib from a boring one. So I knew that, that those were going to be the bigger X number. But I don't know how his father, I guess, owned a pen store, a pen shop, pen repair, whatever. So I suppose Eversharp might have supplied dozens of nibs for people to do replacements, but it seems to me that if you're going to make a nib, you might as well make a whole pen.
yeah.
And then while you take it out, I'll take a nib out of a pen.
Well, I know the
Pen is
guys.
completely
A couple
screwed.
of the guys said when they finally closed Schaefer here in the States that Schaefer threw out 3 55-gallon drums full of gold nibs.
What do you mean they threw
When
them out?
they threw them out
In the trash or
in
had them melted?
well, they threw them out, but I mean they wouldn't let anybody take them, but the company wrote them off and they tossed them. It was part of the whole building clear out.
Oh.
The company overseas didn't want the effort of melting down the gold and going through that effort and all that. They tossed them and declared them a loss.
I see. Well, on the scale of the guy that blew up the Parthenon and throwing away the nibs, which was the worst thing that was?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, to me, I guess it'd
It's
be the
close.
nibs, really.
I think it's
Yeah,
close.
close. Yeah.
I mean, one was done just out of laziness. The other one was made defending Muslim, or I don't know what the combatants were fighting over in that war. But of course, the boob that decided to use the Parthenon to store ammunition is the one that should be strung up rather than the one that fired the bomb.
I think I just read that they're doing a lot of restoration work on that right now.
Well, it's a little too little and a little too late. But it's if Lord Elgin didn't take, is it Lord Elgin or Lord Elgin?
Elgin, I believe. Yeah.
Elgin. I think it's Elgin. I'll look it up in 1 second. He took the things, brought them to England, and where they have lived another day, and they would be just so much decayed lumps of stone if they were left where they were.
Well, I know they're also doing a big amount of restoration outside of Pompeii right now, based on all the villages that were uncovered by some of the work in the fascist era and immediately following into the 50s that never got completed, and it was never shored up or all that, and most of it got destroyed by being left to the elements. And now they're going back finally and going, oh, now we've got to redo what could have been protected had we not uncovered it at all 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Lord Elgin.
Elgin, Lord
Okay.
Elgin.
Lord Elgin.
Okay, what am I thinking of? Um,
Yeah, we have a city that's named after Lord Elgin about 45 minutes from me.
yeah,
Yeah, we have an
What?
Elgin, North Dakota too.
and watches. Did they make watches?
Yes,
Elgin, Illinois. Yes,
that's correct.
Elgin, Illinois. Yeah. For a second, I thought you were from New York, Friedrich, and I apologize for making that error.
Thank you.
Um,
I would have had to turn around and called you a masshole.
well, you don't have to turn around. You can just call me that with your front half. You don't have to turn around. Here's a very fine, very fine Targa, I guess, Imperial, whatever they're called.
Oh, is that gray Targa?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a Targa.
see, now you're again, you heavy fister, you.
Yeah, when I write,
You're. I mean, I don't think with these Triumph, these inlaid nibs, I'm always afraid I'm going to press too hard, and then you can't fix them easily or at all.
well, they're what, glued on?
Well, they're sort of, there's these little tab. Well, I don't know this. Sometimes you see little tabs holding them down,
Okay.
but this might be.
There's underneath. There's usually a pair of tabs, and then there's a little bit of rosin, and then that's it. And
Yeah.
once the rosin lifts or the tab shears, they're done.
They're done. Yeah. So here I would probably never, apply too much pressure. That maybe, but it's such a fun pen to be just delicately fine with. It makes me want to. I mean, the pens make me want to do things. Not all of them are pleasant. No, they make me write in a certain way or draw in a certain way. And what is that thing?
This is a Geha Champion. It's a student pen.
And it's what color is it? Puce.
Yeah. That's a 704 Geha. I've got one of those in yellow. They're a great pen.
Of course, you have one in yellow.
Yeah, they're. It's not a expensive pen, and this is actually vintage Geha ink in it too.
Now, why does it have two holes?
I think that for two cartridges, because there's
Oh, I
one
see.
cartridge here and then the other one's upside
see.
down. Then you're like, oh, they're both empty.
I see.
But I don't have the little metal piece to hold the two cartridges together for this pen. So anybody from my channel watching this is getting a preview of things to come there.
Oh no! Oh no!
Actually, you saw a couple of previews of things to come.
Oh well. I have like 6 people.
Don't lie, Pierre.
Huh?
I said, don't lie. We have more than 6. Like what? 16,
12.
18, 12? Yeah. I think your audience is a lot wider though, Jason, realistically than ours.
Jason sticks to, he has 2 or 3 topics, and people that are interested in one of those topics might be interested in another topic, but he's consistent. When I turn on my live stream, who knows what's going to come out of my pie hole, and
the circus comes to town,
Though yesterday someone said, Minimal Theater presents. I turned it on, and I don't think I said a single word for about 5 minutes. I was waiting for people to show up, and I just said, I don't have time for this, and I shut it off. And a pen collector said, Minimal Theater presents. So
That's that, what is it, they call it Norwegian slow TV.
Is that just a burning log?
Yes, that's one of their episodes.
or the damp log that doesn't ever catch.
Yeah.
That's the exciting one. So you're drawing a book.
Yeah, trying to
Well,
give a little perspective on it,
well,
a little dimension, but I'm not as much of an artist. I'm more of a writer.
Yeah.
Oops, yeah, I've screwed that up.
book. Well, thankfully you
Because I have
labeled
such
it.
a creative title.
Okay, now draw. I'll give you the title: "The Rape of the Sabine Women." Draw that.
Oh, jeez.
Death of Sardanapalus. So it's neat. I'm gonna check my time. Oh, I've got 17. We can talk for a little bit longer. So since Friedrich, you watch both Jason and I, what would you think our next live stream can be about?
Well, I know you guys have collaborated before with paper types,
Uh-huh.
but I think you're on the right track with the pen swap. Although I know you're limited, Pierre, with what you have at hand there as well.
Well,
In comparison to your normal stable.
I have a good example of a lot of pens here. The three that I know Jason had never tried before, he's already tried, so I don't have any surprises. Those were the dip pen nibs. But what I thought I might do with Jason at one point for you, if you can be a guinea pig and want to do this on camera, it might be fun. I may try to get you out of your comfort zone. Well, now you're drawing the death of Sardanapalus.
Yeah, I don't really know how he died. So apparently he got stabbed by a dagger.
Did he? No, I think
We definitely have to have his perspective on the dinner party, though. Before he leaves, we have to have his perspective on the dinner party.
Well, I don't. Have I ever done that with you? Asked if you could invite 6 or 8 people to have dinner with you from all time, or they all speak the same language in your party, but who would you invite?
Oh,
But I have my guest book in Boston, so I'll wait. You have time to
Okay.
a month to
Yeah.
think
all right.
because it was really interesting. Ms. Marilyn Darling invited people she wanted to hug or people she wanted to punch in the face. And
Be a wild party.
I was one of the people she wanted to hug, she said. But
Well, that's good.
I was one of the invitees. But she wanted to punch Marilyn Monroe in the face. And I forget who else I think she wanted, did she want Mae West? I forget. Frederick, who did you invite?
I had a random group of people at the time. Parker had all first
Parker-
ladies and mistresses, so
Yeah,
they would
Parker-
argue with one another. Yeah.
Parker invited the first ladies, and so Mrs. Kennedy was there, as well as Marilyn Monroe and Smokey Daniels and Mrs. Trump were at the party, and he just wanted to see the food fight. I think he invited me there too. But so think about who you'd invite, and again, they can be people from any history, any time zone, any. I think we had all the people being real, though. We didn't yet allow any fictional characters.
No, everybody's been real so far. Language not being a barrier, so even if they would have spoke a different language, it's assumed that everyone at the table can communicate
We're
with
all
one another.
we're all speaking Esperanto.
Yeah.
And Russell had really interesting people. A lot of people stuck to just their topic. They all had musicians or whatever, but it seemed like that would be a very boring dinner party. You want to have crazy things happening. Now Sardanapalus, I think, was dying and knew he was dying, and he was in bed, and he asked to have everything he owned brought to him so he could go with everything, take everything with him. So he had his concubines brought in, his horses brought in, and they were all slaughtered in front of him as he. I'll find the picture of it. It's famous. Did Delacroix do that? Or Géricault?
Yeah. Right?
Sardanapalus is a painting by Eugène Delacroix. So here he is in the background on his bed, and here are his mistresses and his horses and all his gold bullion and brought in so he could watch them being put down. 154 inches by 195 inches, whatever that is. 10 feet.
12 by 15, roughly.
12 by 15. It's unfinished. Oh. No, that was Franz Liszt's opera is unfinished. It inspired a cantata by Hector Berlioz and Franz Liszt's opera. Sardanapalus, a king willing to destroy all his possessions, including people and luxurious goods, in a funerary pyre of gore and excess.
Oh, maybe I'll go out that way. Just
It sounds
just
like an idea.
put all the pens in a
No.
pile and hit him up with some, hit him up with some fuel,
But I also want you to forget that you know me, just in case.
just in case somebody misread my missive. Yeah.
Just, hi Tasha, how are you? You're off screen. Oh, you're drawing
I was doing my own Sardanapalus' stuff, but according to that picture, he had a lot more stuff than fits in a wagon.
Okay, we have a new piece of paper.
Oop, this is a pen I've been having trouble with.
Well, I can see.
Yeah. The nib likes to migrate around, which is part of its problem.
Did you ever figure out what was the issue with that one duofold you had, Jason?
I haven't. I pulled it out. I haven't re-inked it. This is it. And it's a little scratchy still. So I think the tines aren't aligned yet. And I can see right at the bottom the tines kind of splay apart.
Try that. Let me look at this one.
It's empty.
Did I fix it with my magic fingers?
A little bit, as long as I'm not trying to do rapid sketch. Oh, no, it migrated again.
It does migrate. It does do that. I pushed both of them in.
Yeah, I tried, pulling the feet out and then pushing the nib in and then putting them in together like that, but it just doesn't.
And who made this pen?
That's a Reform 1000. It's supposed to be one of their great pens, but so far I'm not impressed.
Does it have a reform nib in it, or is it one of the ones that someone has put a Bach nib in it?
This is a reform nib. So,
But it's not fitting tight. The nib's migrating left to right, or
yeah. That's another preview of coming attractions. And then, you know, and once it starts migrating, it starts, although it hasn't migrated yet now. But once it starts migrating, especially, it starts railroading.
Yeah, it seems, yeah, I can see that the tines aren't quite close.
Yeah,
You know, there's a little gap. And it seems like it's only on the bottom.
yeah, which
It's
is,
like the tines got tweaked a little bit and they're aiming a little bit. They're bow-legged.
yeah,
Is that the right word?
that's a good word for it. I haven't quite figured out how to fix it yet.
It would,
so it's like they've been rolled as
Yeah,
opposed to, yeah. Okay, I get you.
it needs a burnisher and a molding block or something. I'm going to take the nib out here and take the feed out. Oh, the feed screws.
oh,
Did you know that?
did not. I did not take it apart to that level.
Maybe if the nib screws out, is there a crack in the feed collar? Because if there's a
Oh.
crack in the feed collar, it'll allow the feed to move left to right and the nib to migrate.
That's a good point. I've
well,
got a
aren't you clever?
I have a
There is a crack. in
Mont
it.
Blanc that does that.
Are you shitting me? There really is a crack? Did I diagnose that without even
did.
seeing the
You
freaking
did.
pen?
Oh, I've got. You can do this from afar. There is a crack. You can't see it, but there. Now that is. Yeah,
I've missed my calling.
See, if this all was a friction fit thing, that wouldn't be a problem because it all would be squoze together. But because this is a screw thing, I have a feeling that it will never. The inside of the barrel section will not allow it to get tight enough to do that.
You can repair that though if you take the nib and the feed out of that and you take methyl ethyl ketone.
Uh-huh.
You can refuse that nib collar back together where it's cracked at
Yeah.
by, using a syringe and just putting some MEK on there, and it'll melt the plastic back together.
Well,
Or you can try super glue, but since super glue truly isn't waterproof, I would, and in the nib collars under pressure, I would recommend the MEK method, or just look for another reformed nib collar. But since you'd probably spend more for the collar than probably what you spent on the pen, I would try the MEK route.
Okay.
is this clip supposed to?
No, it was like that when I got it. And
This goes on the outside of your field coat when you're going through Poland.
Yes, obviously. Yeah.
I gotta figure out if I can unscrew the top or how it's attached, or if it's just
Some motorcycle cop had that, in his leather breast pocket.
Yes.
Mhm.
While wearing his bulletproof vest. Friedrich and Tasha, we are now at 8%, so I better stop before. So say goodbye, Wasky.
Well, it was quite enjoyable.
Goodbye.
We'll see you guys later.
Okay,
Bye.
I'll be back. Maybe later today. See ya.